I'm going to call the meeting to order. This will be a roll call. Blink.
Here.
Hopefully.
Here.
Lanford.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Hemphill. Hemphill. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve the agenda by Flink, seconded by Bankford. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Oh, so moved.
Second.
The motion's been made to approve the minutes of the previous meeting by Bankford, seconded by Flink. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. How do we stand with the bills?
They're done.
I move we approve the bills.
The motion's been made by Scott to approve the bills, seconded by Hoefling. Before I call for a vote, are there any questions on any of the bills? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. At this time, we're going to open the meeting to public hearing, and our engineer, Neil Keel, will take charge. Neil?
Well, I'll take charge. I'll sort of guide through here. What you have right now is a public hearing that covers the approving the plans, the specifications, and the form of contract. So, Ron, I think what you need to do is you need to ask if there's any comments about the project. I can explain the project if anybody isn't aware. The project has to do with constructing a new controlled discharge lagoon out west of town, constructing a new pump station to pump the waste out to the site west of town, and a 4,500, 5,000 foot long force main.
The 6,000 or
About
so,
6,000 long foot force main to pump the water from the maintenance shed area basically out to the lagoon site. Our estimate for the project was about $2.15 million. We filed plans and specifications with the city council on or about January 10th or something like that. It was their last city council meeting, I believe. Those plans and specs have been on file here. They have been issued to bidders, and they have now received bids for the project, which will be discussed after the hearing. So that's basically the project, and then I think you could ask if there's any questions or comments.
Now, would anyone like to direct a question to Neil at this time? Anyone at all?
Then you might ask Joan if she's had any written comments.
No.
No written comments.
Okay, then what the council needs to do, let's see, you have a resolution, I think in your packet. It's minutes of meeting to approve plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost, and to receive bids. And would you like me just to walk through this, Ron? Is that?
Please.
Okay. What this resolution is, the City Council of City Otabolt met at City Hall in Otabolt at 7:30, February 7th, pursuant to previous resolution and published notice. The meeting was called to order, the mayor presided, and the roll call being called, the following named council members were present, and Joan will fill this in later. The mayor announced that this was the time and place for the hearing. Upon investigation, it was found that blank persons had appeared and filed objections. That'll be 0. Filed objection to the proposed form of contract, the estimate cost of such wastewater treatment proves as follows. And then if there were objections, they were to be listed. City Council heard said objectors, and obviously there weren't any. You asked for them. Evidence for or against the proposed project, whereupon the mayor declared the hearing closed. So you can close the hearing.
I now declare the hearing closed.
Okay, then, council member, there has to be a resolution now.
1106.
Yeah. It's going to be council member blank introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption, seconded by council member blank. And after due consideration thereof, the city council, the mayor put the question upon the motion. The roll being called, the following name council members voted. And that would be the next resolution, Joan, and do you have a number for that?
1106, and the council has a copy of that.
They can make that motion.
Would somebody, does somebody want to read it, or do it, you want it read, or?
You want to
Yeah, I
read
think
it?
so.
Yeah.
Okay, finally approving and confirming plan specifications, form of contract, and estimate cost for the wastewater treatment plant improvement project. Whereas the City Council of the City of Odebolt has heretofore given preliminary approval to the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimate cost for the proposed wastewater treatment improvements project as described in the resolution providing for a notice of hearing on the contract documents for the project and the taking of bids therefore, and whereas a hearing has been held on the contract documents, now therefore it is resolved by the City Council of the City of Odebolt as follows. The contract documents referred to in the preamble hereof are hereby finally approved, and the prior action of the City Council giving preliminary approval is hereby finally confirmed, and the project as provided for in the contract documents is necessary and desirable. Section 2, all resolutions or parts of resolution in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. So then,
I made the motion to approve resolution 1106.
now you're writing all that down, Joan, right? Okay, good.
You heard the motion to approve resolution 1106, introduced by Councilman Flint. Is there a second?
I'll second.
The second is by Hoeflin. Before I call for a roll call vote, are there any questions from anyone? All right. This will be a roll call vote. Flint,
Yes.
Hoeflin,
Yes.
Bagford,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and Hemphill is absent. Okay, the said motion duly carried, and the resolution is adopted as follows.
Okay, then that's what you just read. Which is the resolution that we're looking for. That, the resolution, as follows is the,
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
resolution
yeah.
that we read before.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that takes care of the public hearing then and that kind of stuff. And now you need to go into the bids and the award and the, I've got about 3 different things here to go through as far as financing and cost and things that you guys probably want to know before you make any, decision on awarding the contract.
Please continue.
Okay. The couple of you were here, Butch isn't here, he was here and you were here. We had 13 bids last Thursday, probably the most bids I've ever had on a project. And I can just pass those around. If you haven't seen it, well, that is the tabulation. It's on both sides. There are 13 contractors. We actually had a 14th contractor that I used my cell phone as a time, and at 3 o'clock I announced that bids were closed. What was it, about 3 minutes later? A guy walks in the door with another bid, and we told him we couldn't take it. The bids had closed. So there was a 14th one, and you don't open those because that just is a bag of worms. I'd have had 13 other people protesting it sitting in the back here if we'd opened it. So the apparent low bidder is on the first page, far left, Leroy Sons from Arcadia, Iowa. Their bid was $1,751,268. The bids increase as you go to the right. The bottom line number is on the bottom, and then if you turn the page, they continue left to right again, all the way over to the high bid that came from a company out in Illinois of $3,953,574. It it was $1.5 million greater than the second highest bid. We had 9 bids that were bunched between about 2.1 million and 2.5 million. 9 bids in there. So, you know, really that's probably where your project cost ought to be, is in that. But you had 2 bidders that felt this was a project they wanted to do. One was at 1.7, the other was at 1.9, so you had a couple of them that were below $2 million. I have reviewed the bid of Leroy and Sons. They are from Arcadia. They are an earth moving contractor. They have worked jobs for us in the past. One of them is the Sac County landfill. Are any of you on the landfill commission?
Bill.
Do you remember when they were doing the work up there, Bill? Yeah. I talked to Bruce Von Amy, is the gentleman's name that owns it. Aaron Von Amy was here at the bid opening the other day, and Aaron told us that he felt they were happy with their bid, that they wanted to work close to home, and they intentionally bid where they bid. They knew what they were doing. Bruce was out of the country actually, and just returned this morning. He called and he and I had about a half-hour conversation this morning. I feel very comfortable that he knows what the project is. They completed recently about a 1.3 million cubic yard project down in Panora. Now this one is 300,000, 0.3 million cubic yards. This was a large sediment basin down in the Lake Panora, in the Panora area, Lake Panorama area. About 1.3 million yards of dirt that they moved in about 10 months, he said, and with no problems. They did the Vale project. Bill, I've never been able to get a hold of him, but
Sounds like it's fine.
I think everything is okay down there. We had an initial report that there may have been some problems there, but I haven't been able to find out that there are any problems basically there. So there's only one bid number on here that concerned me, and we have a line item here for what's called bentonite. Now bentonite is a powdery material that if you can't get a lagoon to seal, you spread on, disc it in, and then it swells, and it makes the dirt. We don't believe that bentonite's going to be needed on this project. The soils report indicates that there's good enough tight soils out there that we can use those soils that are on site to seal this. However, as an insurance policy, I put about 750 tons of bentonite in here, so that if we do need it, we've got a bid price for it. We would generally see bentonite going for $150 to $200 at a ton. He bid $50 a ton. I asked him about that this morning. He said that he feels that it is not going to be used, and he spent quite a bit of time talking with the soils testing lab, certified testing, who did the soil borings, and he feels very comfortable that he's going to be able to find material on site, stockpile it, and use it as the seal material for the lagoon. So he feels that he will not have to use that item, even though, and it's underbid basically, but he says, I am prepared to use it if I have to at that price. So he understands it. That's, going in, it's up front. Everybody knows about it. All the other prices, I feel some are higher than others, some are lower than others, obviously. But as you go down the line, I don't find any other bid items that would make me feel leery that he would be able to do the job, for what he said he could. He's actually very excited about having a job this close to home. He says our jobs are 150 to 200 miles away. We'll be able to, to go home at night is what it amounts to. I asked him about his subcontractors. He's planning to use King Construction for the pump station and all the piping. And I actually talked to Dave King today, and he has some of the same attitude about it. They're excited. I guess King is about 5 miles south of town here, and they're excited about working it. His only his only concern, and it isn't a concern, but it has to do with the deepness of the pump station and the water and shoring, but he's thought it through. He talked me through it as to how they plan to do it, so I feel very comfortable that he understands what it is. They're planning to use Holstein Electric. Have they ever worked in town, Bill?
Yeah, I've been around a little bit.
Okay. And Holstein Electric is planning to use automatic systems for their controls, and you've worked with them before, I think.
Yeah.
In fact, they do your stuff up at the water plant. Not anymore. They put it in
They
originally.
put it in,
Yeah.
but Mike's Electric out of Alpha's does it.
Okay. They're planning to use a Cummins diesel generator. Their boring is gonna be a company from Minnesota called Pulte Horizontal. I can't recall that we've worked with them, but that's such a small part of the project that it's not a concern to me.
Who's that contract under then?
Yeah, everything will be under Leroy and Sons.
Leroy.
They will be the general contractor, and that's who you will sign the contract with. All these other people will report to him, but we will obviously be,
Yeah.
and we like to see who they're gonna use, because we like to know, we don't have a real veto power per se, unless we find somebody on their list that we just feel is absolute, not gonna do you a good job, and then we can protest, a little bit, but
Horizontal boring is kind of critical
it is.
thing.
We have a 16-inch casing that has to go under the highway, and that's very critical. I've heard of these people, they just haven't worked on a job for us. Lucan's out of Holstein's gonna do the directional drilling. Now, directional drilling, we have to go underneath the highway, and what county road is that? The paved county road out here,
What is it, Esther?
Esther Road or
It's
something?
Esther, but it's West Highway.
He's
Yeah.
done our boring a lot.
Lucan's has done your boring? Okay.
I've worked with him a lot.
Outstanding. And he's from Holstein, so he's close by. Pumps are HTM Sales. I think that's KSB Pumps, I think. But they're out of Omaha. They have a service department. We've worked with them a lot. Piping is HD Supply. Have you worked with Mike Hardy? HD Supply out of Grimes. The rock, all their pea gravel and road gravel is gonna come from Hallett in Lakeview. Their erosion stone is gonna come from Martin Marietta out of Gilmore City, and that's where most of it comes from, anyway. And the bentonite, he doesn't have a name on that yet. That's something that we don't know if we'll even need, but his only concern on the project is fuel prices. And he said diesel fuel went up 15 cents over the weekend. I don't buy diesel fuel, so I don't know, but he says that, with things going on in the world the way they are right now, that could be a concern, and if you've got a price locked in, but if you get $1 a gallon price increase or something, why, it might be something to talk about, when the project is done, just how much is used. But your price is locked in. It's just a concern of his. It isn't
You
something.
should be
blame him.
concerned.
Yeah.
Close the Suez Canal, that could get hairy.
Yeah, it could get very hairy.
He
Yeah.
should be concerned.
Yeah. Other than that, I feel that he's a legitimate and good bidder. I have prepared a letter here that basically recommends award to Leroy and Sons, and that's probably the next thing on the resolution list. Anybody have any questions other than what I've?
You visited with the contractors, and both King and me, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Their schedule, I didn't say that, both of them are planning to start around the 1st of May. Now, Leroy has some dirt work yet to do up at Haywarden on a road job, and King has a couple of jobs. They're not big jobs, but that he needs to finish up. Bruce Von Amy says he feels it'll take him about 60 days to move the dirt out there. I think it's going to take longer than that.
I can see your point.
But that's awfully quick.
That's a lot of Day and night.
It's a lot of day and night, yeah. But our construction time is 270 calendar days. We'll issue him a notice to proceed well before May 1. But all we can do is issue the notice to proceed, and we can police the end of the contract. We can't really police the start of the contract, if you follow me. So we issue him a notice to proceed. He can start anytime. He could start 30 days before the end of 270 if he wanted to, if he felt he could get it done. That isn't going to happen. But so we can police the end, but we can't police the start. But we will have a pre-construction conference probably right after the 1st of March and issue him a notice to proceed, so his time gets started.
Was he at $1.75 on the dirt?
$1.58.
58 was. Oh, yeah, okay.
Is there $1.75 there?
No, I looked at the wrong one.
Okay.
I thought he was $1.50.
$1.58.
Yeah, okay.
Which is a very, very good price.
Yep.
We have 290,000 yards that has to be moved.
Some of them were considerably higher.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow, I guess.
He uses what's called machine control for his grading. That means he puts GPS sensors, is that what you call them, Eric?
Yeah.
On the front of his dozer blade. And we provide, we have a CAD program that we have modeled the site after. We provide him that information, and he downloads that into his machine control software. And basically his dozers just follow the control, and they find the grade, and it's the thing that the contractors are doing nowadays. A lot.
A little different. We used to have the old cable blade.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
I might just say something here, Neil. If you'll recall, I'm just gonna give you a little review of when we started with Neil way back when. And we've advanced and we've advanced. And several months ago, we decided to proceed and go through the bidding process in hopes that there might be a contractor that really wants the work and would save the city of Odebolt a considerable amount of money. Council, that happened.
I would say.
That happened.
I think so. I think we get moving.
Good. Well, what you have here are, it's called minutes of meeting to award contract. And it says the city council, city of Ola, met at blank, Odebolt at such and such a time pursuant to adjournment and the rules of this council. The meeting was called to order by the mayor, present, and you'll have that to fill in. The council further considered proposals received for the proposed wastewater treatment and embody its findings in the resolution next year and after referred. And then council members such introduced and somebody seconded and all ayes. This resolution says, and what number will this be, Joan?
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to, I missed that one. It'll be 1107.
7.
Well, you have 1107.
Okay.
We'll have to move that one up to 1108.
1107 here.
This would be 11, this is 11.
You don't have a copy of 1107, I'm sorry.
Okay, so this is gonna be 11:00.
That'll be 1107. We'll just change the other number.
Okay. Okay, this is awarding of contract for wastewater treatment projects. Whereas pursuant to notice duly published in the manner and form prescribed, as required by law, and proposals were received by this council for the wastewater treatment improvements, and whereas all the said bids and proposals have been carefully considered, and is necessary and advisable that provision be made for the award of contract, now therefore it is resolved by the city council, city of Odebolt, as follows. The bid for the project submitted by the following contractor is fully responsive to the plans and specifications heretofore approved by the city, and is the lowest bid, responsible bid received, such bid being as follows. And then it'll be Leroy and Sons Incorporated amount of bid, at 1,700,000 and whatever that exact.
51,268.50.
Section 2, the contract for the project is hereby awarded to such contractor at the total estimated cost set out above. Final settlement to be made on the basis of the unit prices therein set out and the actual final quantities of each class of materials furnished. The said contract to be subject to the terms of the aforementioned resolution, the notice of hearing, letting, the plans and specs, and the terms of the bidder's written proposal. Section 3, the mayor and city council are hereby authorized in order to enter into a written contract with said contracts for the project. Said contract not to be binding until approved by resolution of the city council. Section 4, the amount of the contractor's performance and payment bond is hereby fixed at 100% of the amount of the contract. Section 5, all resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. So, Ron, somebody will have to introduce it again. Council member introduce, ayes.
We just need a motion.
You've all heard the resolution, and now it's time, I'll call for a motion.
I move, we approve resolution 11.
Is there a second?
I'll second
The motion has been made by Flynn, seconded by Hoefling. You've all heard the read resolution by the engineer. Before I call for a roll call vote, is there any discussion? Any discussion at all? If not, do a roll call vote. Flink,
Yes.
Hoefling,
that. Yes.
Bangford,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and Hemphill's absent. The resolution is passed unanimously,
Yep.
engineer.
Good, and I think that's. I'm not done, but that's all you have to do here.
Good.
All right, the last resolution that's in here is what you'll do in 2 weeks. Tomorrow morning now, Eric and I will put together the contract form, the bond forms, and the material and payment bond forms. We will put those all together, we will send them to the contractor. He will sign them, he will get his bonds and his insurance certificates and get them back to us. And then at another meeting, which we're gonna set here in just a minute, we'll come back together and you guys will then authorize Ron to sign the contracts. So you don't have a contract yet, all you've done is awarded the contract. You won't have a contract until he gets all that stuff back to you and you authorize the mayor to sign it. So we really need to set, you don't have another meeting coming up, do you, before March?
Well, we have a
Budget.
we have a budget, but I don't wanna mix
This,
them up.
well, this one won't take very long.
It won't?
This could work in.
What do you think?
How long
It's
will
up
it
to the
take?
council. I'm
5 minutes.
recommending Monday or Tuesday of next week.
Oh, let's
For a
just
budget
work it
hearing?
in with our budget
Not,
then.
not the hearing, the
The
workshop.
budget workshop,
Yeah.
That's too soon.
do it. Too soon?
Too soon?
Yeah, it takes him at least a week to 10 days, probably 10 days at least, to get those contracts back to me. I don't think we could have them back quite
Do you
by
need
then.
a date tonight, Seth?
Yeah, we should.
All right.
Yeah, I tell you what I've done a lot of times actually is done it at a noon hour meeting, because all it basically requires is a quorum, and we have to show that the contracts are signed, that they're duly executed. It could be a noon meeting sometime.
We've had a lot of noon meetings, specials. Is that acceptable, council?
That's fine.
Pick it, set a date.
Why is that number red on the?
It's a holiday.
President's
Yeah.
Day?
Okay, is that your
President's
holiday?
Day.
I mean, is that a city holiday? No,
No.
okay.
No.
Well, the 21st would be when I would suggest then.
Is that agreeable, council, the 21st? At noon? Then we'll set that date,
Okay.
deal.
Just so there's at least 3 of you gonna be here, that's the most important thing,
I should be in.
okay? All right, so that, you want this back, Joan? The next thing, now that takes care of the bids. I mean, you've awarded your contract, we'll send out the notice of award tomorrow, and the contracts. The next thing we need to talk about is how are you gonna finance this? How are you gonna pay for this?
Screw you, Neil.
All right, you have,
We should have talked about that before.
well,
Happy time to talk about that, isn't it?
it is except for the fact that you have $500,000 in grant money sitting there for you, and you have $1.9 million in state revolving loan money sitting there for you. It's a matter of how you want to mix those. And at this point, all you have as far as the SRF is you're on an intended use plan. So now that you know the cost, you have to submit what's called a construction loan application. It's just a formality, but the formality is that we've got to decide how much you actually want to borrow. You may want to borrow the whole $2 million that's sitting there for you, or you may want to borrow less. Okay, so what I've tried to do, and I think we've got to talk about this tonight because,
Absolutely.
because it's not going to go away,
No.
and we need to get this in. Let's pass these
You're
around.
saying borrow the whole 2 million for like working capital.
Let's go through this and I'll show you where I'm coming from. Okay, the first page, hand one of those to Eric back there if you would, so he can follow through it.
Thank you.
He's gonna have to do this the next time.
Thanks, Neil.
And if there's any left over, they could probably go back there too, if you want to. The first page is this is a source of funds and cost breakdown for the project. I've done this two ways. The first page and the third page are both this kind of but let's go through the first one first. First of all, you got this land issue that you have to take care of. Is the number 660,000? Is that what we're talking about? You have $660,000 that you need to pay for land. SRF does not cover that cost. CDBG does, but you only have $500,000 in CDBG. Now, I understand that you have initiated action to borrow that $660,000 from the local bank at a 20-year
Yes, we have.
at interest. You've initiated that, but it isn't consummated yet. I talked to Joe Behrens today, and he believes, but he hasn't confirmed with me yet, he believes that $500,000 of that land could come directly from CDBG.
Well, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
If that's the case, you'd only have to borrow $160,000
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
from your local bank. I talked to John Danos this afternoon, who is your bond attorney, and he also just said exactly what Ron just said. That would be great, because he'd rather work you up with papers and stuff for the 160. Now, we don't know for sure that it can all come from CDBG right away. So that's why I've put up two different budgets here. The first budget, we start off with some administrative, financial, legal expenses. The planning and design expenses, which are basically the money you have spent already on engineering and other preliminary costs. The engineering construction fees, which are the fees that are going to be resident inspection, construction administration, staking, those kind of things. The construction is put in here at the $1,751,000, which is the low bid. You've had some soil borings done in two different steps. One the lagoon, and then we had another one taken down here at the pump station. The other, I've got land in there at the $660,000, and then I've got a contingency line here now. Now, when we do estimates early on, we usually use 8 to 10% for contingencies. We get down to this point, we know what the costs are going to be more precisely. However, I have never gone through a project yet where we haven't had something come up during the project that either increases or possibly sometimes decreases the cost. And you need to keep a little contingency in your budget. Not necessarily that you're going to spend it, but you need to keep it in your budget. That is 3% of the $1,751,000, which is a reasonable number. We hardly ever go, I shouldn't say that, but we never hardly approach 3%. So that totals $2,718,000. Now, on this particular budget, I have $500,000 coming from CDBG and $160,000 coming from your local bank. So minus funds from other sources, $660,000. Your total SRF then would be $2,058,141.99. Now, you have to pay a 1% loan initiation fee for the SRF money. So that next line is 1% of that $2,058,000, or $20,581. Your total loan request then would be $2,078,723.40. The source of funds then is on the bottom of the page, the SRF, the CDBG, and the local loan. Skip a page and go to another page that looks just like this, and you have the same numbers up on top. It says source of funds, cost breakdown again. Same numbers all the way down to the minus funds from other sources. Here, I've got the local note that you've been working on at $660,000 for the land, plus the $500,000. So I've got minus funds from other sources at $1,160,000, and when you add the loan initiation fee, you'd only be borrowing $1,573,000. Now that's $500,000 difference between those two numbers. The SRF is 3% for 30 years. The local $660,000 is going to be probably 4 to 4.5% for 20 years. So you're going to pay more per year to amortize it if you borrow more money from your local bank. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's why these two are here. I'm just trying to get you into a frame of mind as to how you want to do this, if in fact we can get that $500,000.
Neil, at this point, may I ask you a question for my own benefit and for the council? You've done these three project financing, these two.
Yeah.
You have experience in these projects. Is this similar to other projects you've done?
Well, somewhat, except there isn't as much land usually. I mean, you have a high land cost, and that's why you would have
Is there one that you think you would recommend as our city engineer?
If we can get the $500,000 to pay for the land up front, then I would recommend the first one.
The first one?
Yeah. Because of let's go to page number 2 then. Page number 2 is sort of an analysis of that first alternate, okay?
Okay.
When you get your SRF money, you can get it in GO bonds or you can get it in revenue bonds. And you all know that GO bonds are repaid by taxes, and revenue bonds are repaid by rates. So the more GO bonds you get, the less revenue bonds, and the higher the taxes are going to be, but the lower the rates are going to be. So you guys are going to have to decide what that mix is. It's a pay me now, pay me later type scenario. So what I have up here on the top is, I have on the left column, it's the SRF loan amount. That's that $2,078,000 that we showed on the first page. Then I have a column that says what happens if you don't use any GO bonds, if you use $250,000 in GO, if you use $500,000, $750,000, and $1 million. As you can see in the third column, the amount of revenue bonds goes down each time, obviously. The fourth column is the amortization. That's the annual payment that you will pay for those revenue bonds. And not considering the GO bonds, because that goes on your taxes. This is the amortization. What I'm trying to do is come to how much your monthly customer cost is going to be. So the annual revenue, and then the net. Okay, now here's another thing. You have now a rate that's generating about $108,000 to $110,000 a year. Your expenses are only about $80,000 a year. So you're generating a surplus right now from the rates that you have. When we go to the new system, your expenses are actually going to go down, because you aren't going to have to pay for electricity out at the aerated lagoon site, and you're not going to have to pay for as much testing. Right now, Bill, you have to send in a weekly. He has to send in weekly tests, which probably cost $80 to $100 a week, I'd say at least, maybe 150 a week. Out at the new system, he's only gonna have to test twice a year. So your testing costs now are in the $3,000 range. It's probably gonna go down to less than $500 a year. And your power costs are actually less than I thought they would be, but they're about $3,000 a year now. You are gonna have a little bit more electricity and pumping, pushing it all the way out there, but your electricity costs are probably gonna go down $2,500 to maybe even $3,000 a year also. I have just knocked $5,000 off your budget for savings. So you're gonna have net revenue available from current rates of about $33,000. If I subtract that from the annual revenue required, your additional revenue that's gonna be required by each one of those GO scenarios is gonna be in that second to last column. And if I divide that number by 500 customers and by 12 months, your average monthly cost per customer is gonna go up $12.18 if you don't use any GO bonds to as low as $3.67 if you use $1 million of GO bonds. So you can see that you aren't gonna have to make these decisions tonight necessarily, but we probably are gonna have to make them, shortly in order to get the loan application in. If we go down into the page then, I've just calculated your revenue from existing rates is 108, your proposed expenses are gonna be 75, that's where I came up with the 33,000. Again, on the left side, now towards the bottom, you have a total bonding capacity of a little over $1,600,000. Right now, now this is for GO, general obligation only. You have used 97,000, or you have 97,000 outstanding in your 1997 water project. You have 110,000 outstanding in your fire truck. That's a total of $207,000 in outstanding. You don't have any of this 660,000. That's why I put a box around it, because we can change that number, at will if we don't use the other. But if you did have that, you'd have 733,000, and I'm sorry, you'd have 733,000 remaining, okay, of your bonding capacity. So that would mean up there on the top, you couldn't, and you don't want to use all of your bonding capacity because you still might have emergencies that you do GO bonds. I wouldn't recommend you go beyond the $500,000 level up there at all. So you'd probably be between the $250 and $500, and your rate increase would be between $10 and $7, if you follow.
Those would probably be the ones to look at.
On this scenario. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, now, if you go to the bottom and the right-hand portion of numbers there, your current rate is $10 a month plus $2.50, and that includes 1,000 gallons of water, plus $2.50 per 1,000 gallons. You generate $60,000 from the minimum, and you generate $48,000 from the $2.50 for that $108,000. The rate on the bottom down there is if you want to generate an increased revenue of $34,000, which is the $750,000 line up there, you'd have to raise your rate to $12.50 a month for the first 1,000 plus $3.50. Now again, I have those in brackets because those are interchangeable. And I was going to bring a computer along with those, and I actually have them in my cell phone, and we can play with them if you want to tonight. I have the spreadsheet in my cell phone, but those are the numbers that you can play with. Basically, those three numbers that are in boxes are what you can play with.
How soon do you have to have decisions on this, Neil?
I would say within 2 or 3 weeks. But
Can it be by our special meeting at
yes,
noon?
yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay,
That would give you all a chance to think about that.
yeah.
If you go to this same sheet, now it'd be sheet 4, is an analysis of the financing revenues. Let's see, yeah, this is with the SRF loan amount of $1,500,000. Now the numbers over on the right-hand side come down appreciably lower, but remember, you're spending $660,000 on that land. I should have, I can see where I should have put $160,000 on this first one, because if you only borrow $160,000 from the bank, you actually have $440,000 more in bonding capacity. So you could actually come down to the $750,000 level up there. My recommendation would be to not bond any more GO than you have to,
I agree.
because the GO goes on the tax rolls.
Yeah, we're raising it.
And the GO is what you can spend for storm sewers, streets, fire stations, some things that don't raise revenue. Sewer raises revenue. So you want to put on revenue as much as you feel your customers can bear, if that's a good way to
I
way to
agree,
put it.
I totally agree.
So there's lots of different decisions there that you need to make.
You do like this GO of 250 to 500.
I do.
You like that?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
See, with your bank loan, you're considering that to be a GO right now. If you can lower that GO, that loan, then you can afford to raise your GO on the
And
other.
that'd be using the $500,000.
If that's reasonable. And
That needs to happen.
I'll know that within a couple days.
Let us
Very
know.
good.
Mhm.
That needs to happen.
Yeah. The last sheet shows you how this works out over the long term. In alternate one, you borrow $660,000 for land at the local bank, and you borrow $1,573,000 from SRF for the remaining. Your 660 is a 20-year term, 4%, and I think it's going to be higher than that. I think it's going to be maybe more like 4.5%. But that gives you an annual $48,000 that you have to pay back to the local bank. If you multiply that $48,000 times 20 years, you're going to end up paying a total of $971,000 over the term of that loan. The $1,500,000 is a 30-year loan at 3%, and that has an annual amortization of $80,000. You multiply the $80,000 times 30 years, you get $2,400,000. You add those two together, and you're going to end up paying for the project $3,379,000 over the term of the project. Alternate two, you borrow $160,000 from the local bank, and you borrow $2 million from the SRF. And what you do is you actually come down to a little bit more over the whole term. However, if you look in the second to last column, your annual payments for alternate number one are $128,000. Your annual payments for alternate number two are only $117,000. So you're about $11,000 less, $11,026 less per year, but you do end up paying about $37,000 more over the whole term of the loan.
A little over 1,000 a year is about all that.
Yeah, it's pretty small compared to the $3 million that you end up paying. What I need that information for then is how you're going to do it, is I need it for this construction loan application
Sure.
that I will have to put in, and
And the 21st will be okay.
absolutely,
Okay.
You'll be with that one.
I'll be here. Yep. And Joan helped me with some of these numbers, and I appreciate that, Joan, with some of the
Good job, Joan.
local stuff.
Okay, lots of digest.
Okay. Good job.
One more thing, and this has to do with our contract. When we entered into a contract with you about 1.5 years ago, the way we distributed plans during the bid process was to print the plans, send the plans out to contractors. They sent us a deposit which was non-refundable. That non-refundable payment that they sent to us, we used to pay for the production of the plans and the specifications, the printing, of the plans, the printing of the specs, the mailing of it all out. About a year ago, the legislature, through a lobby from the Master Builders Association, got a law passed by the state that requires us to furnish paper copies free to all of the bidders. And we can still charge a deposit, which we did, but we have to return that deposit to them if they return the plans to us within 14 days after the bid opening. UPS delivered a whole stack of them today.
They want their money back.
They're coming back.
Can I ask you how much is involved?
Okay, we're looking at about $4,500 to $6,500. So what I would like to do, it's something that we are standing right now, but I would like to have an amendment to our contract that basically reads like this. For the provision of paper copy bid documents as set forth in 103, the owner shall compensate the engineer via the standard hourly rates method of payment with actual costs involved with paper plan distribution to prospective bidders. Credit will be given for any plan deposits forfeited due to non-return per requirement set forth in bid documents. Total compensation on this perk is estimated to be $6,500. And if you approve this, what we will do is just charge you for the actual cost. We're not going to mark it up. We have a firm in Des Moines by the name of Beeline and Blue that prints these for us. They mail them out for us, so we get a bill. I've already got bills totaling about $4,500 from them, and there'll be another bill because we had an addendum that went out after this. We will charge you only for the actual cost. We have a line item in our contract for bidding, but that involves all of the questions that Eric and I answer the contractors, all of the administrative items that go on during the bidding process, and it never was intended to cover the cost because we were covering that with those non-refundable bid deposits. So I would ask if the council would entertain that amendment to our engineering contract.
Do you need that in a form of a motion? Not a resolution, a motion.
It probably should be your contracts are resolutions, aren't they? Yeah, it probably should be it should at least be a roll call vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion to, what Neil just read us?
Yeah.
I understand. I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? All right, you've all heard the motion read by Neil. The motion's been made by Flink, seconded by Hofling. Before I call for a vote, is there any question? Do you all understand what Neil just read?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to give a roll call vote.
If they didn't, that's
Flink,
yes.
Hofling,
Yes.
Bangford,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and Hempel's absent.
The entire rest of our contract, we stick behind. It actually was 2 years ago. It was March 16th, 2009, so,
The motion is
Come a long ways.
yeah. So, I don't know, Ron, if you want to sign, you can sign that now if you want to. If you don't want to. Oh, there's 2 more. There's always 3.
Is that all?
That's all we
Got
got.
another one?
One more, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm gonna give one of these to Joan and she can
That'd be
put it
fine,
in.
that'd be fine. That'd be fine.
And that's it.
Thank you.
Eric, what'd I miss?
Nothing that I know of, Neil.
I think you covered the bases, Neil.
Okay, Eric's learning this process as we go, and that's why I bring him along each time.
I think you did a very good job, and we want to thank you for
Yeah,
your
appreciate it.
presentation.
Good. All right.